Then wonder if to resolve that, to work around it, is just add another layer, create
Oh.
another symbol, right?
Actually,
No?
it didn't.
Oh, it did take?
It did take.
Oh,
The
it
blur.
bounced in the blur.
Well, but what it did is it left the ball in that blurred state. So
Blurred, yeah.
it isn't animating the blur. It's left it in the blur state, but it's animating the bounce. So
Right.
that's not what we wanted. So we'll just undo that.
But what if you could do like I said, one layer be the bounce and another layer be the blur?
Well,
I don't know, can you do it that way?
You can't do it that way
No.
because it's the same object. It has to be it's one layer. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Could- I'll have to test that out. We'll
Yeah.
come back to that. So, okay, we'll just create another object here. And we'll do the bounce in 3D. We'll hit apply. I didn't have the object selected. Just select it first. Okay. And we can see that it's going to go way down and it's going to bounce. And it puts our keyframes in there. If you want to edit these keyframes, probably the easiest way to do it is you can, let's see if this allows to move that down. We can edit the path. We can move that up. We can edit like the start and end points. But what it's doing with these bounces, it's actually using a an ease, and I'll go into ease now. I want to edit this in the motion editor. Before I do so, I have to click on the timeline to basically highlight this tween here, and then go into motion editor, and then I'll need lots of room for this. In the motion editor, this basically gives you like a graph representation of what's going on in your scene. We have a couple options down below. This one on the right is probably the most important one. It allows you to determine how many frames are showing in this window. By default, usually it's a really small number, like 1 or 5 or something like that, and you can't really see what's going on in your animation. So you want to increase it. This allows you to see basically the whole timeline. This first number here, 40, this first object, allows you to edit how tall the frames are. So you can shrink them down if you want all of your aspects in one area. But if you're actually editing points in here, you're going to want a larger number, because if it's really small, if you try to move something, it's going to move it drastically. If you have a larger number, and we scroll down here. Now, if I try to move this, it's moving it considerably in smaller increments than if the frame height was smaller. So, like you can see, as I'm moving this, where it's only moving like tenths of a point, tenths of a percent. So, if we shrink this way down, if I try to move this, you can see that it's moving like 30%. It's like, it goes from 53% to 30%. So it doesn't allow you that freedom to just fine tune it. So we're going to want this to be a bit higher. Okay. What we're seeing here with these points, these are actual. You can see that it's our scale, and you can note where your keyframes are, because your keyframes will show up in the timeline with little black squares. You can click on your keyframes. You can move them around. In this window, if you move a keyframe left or right, you're changing its placement in time. But if you move it up or down, you're changing its value. Now, we have X and we have Y position, so each one will change either the X or the Y or the Z position of the object. So just because I am moving it left and right, and you can see that it is it's changing the position of the scale of the object. See, as I pan through there, you can see it getting thicker. It's getting wider. So, if we had a keyframe on Y, and if you want to add a keyframe, just right click and hit Add Keyframe, and then we can right click over here and Add Keyframe, and then again, if I want to change value, I'll go up and down. So you can see that it's not getting as, it doesn't look as wide, because it's actually increasing the skew, as a skew Y. It's actually changing the skew of it. I wanted to change the actual Y scaling of it. So I would click over here and bring that down. And I lowered the value, so now we can see that it's actually getting even thinner and wider than it was before. Or if I bring that up, you can see a drastic change. And it's because I'm so far zoomed in. I have a pretty high width here. That's why it's or height. That's why it's has like these minor increment changes to it. Okay, I'm just gonna create another animation in here, just more of a basic one to give you an example of easing. So I'm going to just do a translation. I had my scrubber here on frame 29, so that's where it put the keyframe. Go to Motion Editor. We can see that we only really have one movement, and it's the X motion or X position. And so we go from one point of the stage to another point. And if you want to really just quickly animate something, there are some presets down here in the easing section, and the easing determines how an object moves from one keyframe to another keyframe. And usually it's meant to either slow an object into an animation, either it starts off slow and then speeds up, or it starts off fast and then slows down as it gets to the last keyframe. That's the general use of easing. But you can use it for other animations, and I'll first step is we're just going to change it to simply slow, and basically just click on this little drop down menu and it'll say simple slow. If you can speak everything. But if we click on this little plus sign down here next to the easing panel, it gives us some different options for our easing. And one of them is bounce. So I'll show you what that does. It has a number. Basically, you're telling it how many times you want it to bounce. So we can increase that. Now if we scrub across the timeline, it doesn't do anything because we didn't change it yet to bounce. Still, right now we added an ease, but we didn't actually change the ease of this parameter. So to do that, you just click on this again. Now we see bounce down here, so we click on bounce, and we can see it jumps ahead and bounces several times.